I just didn't know how to deal with everything. And 2 years later after that, my dad...
And I said, I need to get some more time off because I want to go back to Bali to see this girl that I've fallen in love with.
She's like, what? Just capital letters. What? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Are you serious? Question mark, question mark, question mark. And then she just called me.
Welcome back, my darling.
Is that the introduction for every single one now?
I might have to come up with a new way to call you something nice every single beginning of our pods. The last pod that we did, or chat that we did, was the first time that we ever kind of sat down and spoke together. We spoke about why we quit doing YouTube and why we were back. And I think for all the people who don't know who we are, what we do, where we come from, this is a great time right now to just talk about how it all started. We have 1.1 million followers on Instagram, almost 800 on TikTok. We have 3 or 4 businesses, 2 hotels in Bali, and everything came up so quick. 6 years ago, we just met in Thailand. So I want to ask you some questions to get your honest answers, and we can kind of tell our story that way. So you left Germany to go on an Asian holiday for 8 weeks.
Yep.
Did you ever think that you would meet the love of your life?
No, not at all. And I even said it because I was with my friend Sophia when we started the trip. I convinced her after that trip we would move to Barcelona. We had organized a master program where we both paid around 4,000 euros as a deposit. And I said I don't want to meet anyone until then, because I want to have a new start in Spain. And you just didn't, you weren't in my plans.
So we met on a beach in Thailand 6 years ago. Koh Tao was the island. You were not planning to meet anybody. I was not planning to meet anybody. And we just connected like crazy.
Yeah. Whenever we talk about it now, even though we weren't looking for someone, our energy levels were on the same level, and it wouldn't have happened the same way a year before or a year before that, because you at that time when we met for the first time were open to maybe change your life around, settle a bit more with one person.
Maybe you can tell your
and
getting to that level, and I'll tell my getting to that level.
So for anyone who doesn't know me, or maybe you know me but you don't know the details, I finished school in 2009 or 2010, I don't even remember anymore. And I started a dual education program in Germany in one of the biggest fashion companies in Germany. I learned full-time how the business was run. I was in one of the biggest store full-time, and were studying business administration at the same time. And only 4 months into the program, my parents told me that my dad got stage 4 cancer, and my mom mentally couldn't deal with it. They had hidden this from us for around 2 weeks, so she was like carrying it with herself. And when they told me, I'm the oldest of 3, so my sister's 3 years younger and my brother's 3 years younger than my sister again. Our perfect family fairy tale world just crushed into pieces, especially for me. At that time, my mom said she's not going to be able to deal with it alone, and asked me to stop my career / my uni degree. And I, of course, did right away. And my dad, as I said, had stage 4 cancer, which meant that they had to start operations and chemo and everything right away. My mom had to go to a mental hospital, and I was pretty much alone. My uncles and aunties and my grandparents live all at least 2 hours away. So that was a really, really hard time, and I grew up super quickly because of it. And It was hard for a year, really, really hard. My dad somehow made it, especially the doctors didn't give us, like they said, max 2 years and he's not going to survive it. It's death sentence pretty much. But after a year of fighting, my dad was extremely positive. He came back after chemos and surgeries, and a lot of times it was really close. After that, my mom also got better again and we almost went back to normal. But obviously nothing was normal anymore. I was not the same person anymore. I got into work addiction afterwards because I just didn't know how to deal with everything. And 2 years later after that, my dad, they found cancer cells again. So at that time, they recommended a really strong chemo. And it was super unlucky, but he did the chemo, got a lung infection and didn't make it. And it was really hard for me, and especially my family. At first I couldn't leave my mom alone, and then I realized I needed to take care of myself as well after a while. So at that time I stopped work for 2 or 3 weeks, went back to work, was in charge of 40 people, managing a part of the fashion department in the store in Düsseldorf where I'm from. And I just tried myself to drown myself into work and parties on the weekend to somehow distract myself. And then a year after that, I couldn't anymore. I felt exhausted. I felt like I was drowning, and I opened up to my boss. And she said at that time, Marie, you need to take a couple of days off or a couple of weeks off. And I started working with a life coach for the first time in my life. And that was the hardest thing I'd ever done, because I think I did 1 hour with her. I opened up about everything, and then I couldn't walk for 3 days because my body just shut down completely. And then I realized I need to stop working because I really need to fix myself. It took me a few months of finding out who I was, to let go of my fears of loss, of everything, like controlling everything, obviously, because I was the one controlling the entire family for a bit. And trying to connect with myself again. And I got to a stage where I was like, maybe it was 2000. So my dad passed into end of 2014, and then 2015 I was working, and then 2016 I worked on myself from January until April, I think, and then I got better. And I found happiness again after like 1.5 years. But I realized I had to do something else. So that's when I wanted to move to Spain and do a little Asian trip and just disconnect. And I said to my friend Sophia, I do not want to meet anyone. I just want to concentrate on myself and have fun. And we flew to Bangkok. And from there we took the bus to Koh Tao. And I think it was our 3rd day on Koh Tao when I met like my first Australian ever. I didn't expect any species on this planet to be so nice and open and outgoing, so I fell for it right away. I didn't expect it. And you were just so fun and so I don't know, so good, so happy, and it got me right away.
And you told me that if you were still in your business working mind, you would have seen me and been like, this guy doesn't have a career, he's funny and fun and all that, but he's not serious. He's got long hair, he's got piercings, tattoos. This is not a serious love. Your mind would have convinced your heart that it wasn't going to work, right?
100%. We all grow up conditioned in a way that we're all pretty much the same in the area we live in. So like everyone in my hometown is quite similar, everyone in your hometown is quite similar. So for me, I when I was in my career, I wouldn't have gone for someone who had no plan and anything. But at this time, because I went through all of this, all I wanted is to have a happy life, to live. I realized how short life can be because of my dad. So I just wanted to have fun. And obviously I realized really quickly that you were super switched on. And I knew pretty quickly if you wanted to achieve something in life that you would as well. So I think I had that a bit in the back of my mind as well. But let's say the first 6 months that we met, I didn't even think about it.
And we connected on the first day like crazy, and then on the second day I remember you actually told me basically what you just talked about then.
Yeah.
All of your story, your history, the things you've been through. And when you told me that, I all of a sudden just felt like I need to man up and be the one who's going to support you from now on, and make sure that all of the pain and the hard things you'd been through was going to get easier. And for the first time in my life, I became like a real man, I think, because before I was a boy, I was a bit of a playboy, and I never took anything seriously, but just this feeling that I had for you and how open you were and the things you've been through made me feel like I want to be there for you from now on. And that was day 2.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
And
I mean, maybe you quickly want to explain how your 5 years pre-Marie and Jake looked like.
Yeah, if I'd met you 6 months earlier, I wouldn't have been the guy who could have taken that all seriously, taken it on my shoulders and done the things I needed to do to support you and to make you believe that I was really there for you and cared. So from when I was 20 to 24, those years were the craziest years of my life in terms of partying, in terms of sleeping with different girls and just going crazy. I quit playing football when I was 19 and I really wanted to be professional. That dream got kind of ripped away from me because of an injury. So all of a sudden, all of my sport went away. And then I said, I can't take being in Australia anymore and not being able to play. So I booked a flight to Canada, and the next 3 years I just lived in Canada and I went crazy. And I feel like I was just getting everything out of my system. My parents got divorced when I was really young, and one of the main pieces of advice that my dad told me was to live my life and do everything I wanted to do, play sport, travel the world, be with girls, all of that, and like get it out the way before you meet the one. Because if you have this curiosity, or if you feel like you missed out on something, it's going to bug you for the rest of your life, and then you don't want to hold that against your partner because they're the one who's restricting you or something like that. And that was a big part of the reason why my parents got divorced. So I took that literally and I went for it. But after 3 years of traveling and working overseas and partying and all that, I started to really understand how empty it was. And I would wake up with a hangover and feel so depressed and sad and just thinking, what purpose is my life? Why am I doing this? And then starting to drink again just to cover up those feelings, and then it would just be a vicious circle. And so at one point I was in Canada at the ski season. I was doing my 3rd ski season or something, and a ski season is one of the worst environments to be in if you don't want to drink or party or have fun or do bad things, basically naughty things. So I left, I went home to Australia and just looked at myself, went back to my dad's house, and I just said, there's got to be more to life than this for me. And I was ready to just let that go, to start a new chapter of my life, to be healthy, to go back to the gym again, and to find something more purposeful, because drinking and partying and all of that, I did everything, and I found that it was just a giant hole that you can put so much into and it will never fill up. And so that was a good lesson for me to learn that. I learned it a completely different way to you, but like you said, by this time that we met in Thailand, I had manned up enough and kind of learned all of those lessons. You had maybe come down with your standards and realized that love and happiness is the most important. And then when we connected, it was just like fire.
Yeah, it went super quickly. I think both of us weren't looking for it. We met the first day, spent I don't know, 6-7 hours together with a big group of people, connected right away, just had fun chats. Then, like you said, the next day I opened up to you and told you a bit of my story. And then the day after that, I went from the island Koh Tao to Koh Phangan, and I told you about it the night before. So you said, okay, me and my mates were going as well. And then you even asked me for the hotel where we were staying. So we all were staying at the same hotel for, let's say, 3 days. Went to the half moon party, had a bit of a crazy time together, some fun stories. And then the next day, or I think the day
some R-rated stories.
Yeah. The day before the half moon party, I think we had a sit down, like a dinner at the beach, and we just had like this 2-hour conversation about how our lives could look like, and we were like dreaming about the same things, and it just felt amazing. And then after the half moon party, day after, you lost your phone first, but then you got it back or something. You then left to go and leave on a ferry back to Bangkok and then to Cambodia.
Yeah, my friend and I had already planned our trip, just like you'd planned your trip. After Thailand, you were going to Vietnam and we were going to Cambodia. Flights were booked and everything. And so just out of, this was where our trip was supposed to go. We knew each other for 5 or 6 days.
Yeah.
I got on the ferry with my friend and waved goodbye, said goodbye to you. And it was kind of like, oh, yeah, maybe we'll meet in the next country, or maybe we'll do this or that. And as soon as I was on the ferry waving goodbye to you, I just felt sick that I was letting you go. I was like, why am I doing this? What, just because I've got a flight booked? That doesn't make any sense. Like, she's got 3 or 4 weeks left of her holiday. I've still got another 2 weeks. Why am I not just spending that time with her?
And you were texting me and saying, like, where are you staying in Vietnam? And I was like, he's never gonna come. Like, no way. We spent 5 days together. No way.
And I said to my friend Trent, if you're listening to this, Trent, thank you very much. He still has some videos actually of me and him
we need it for the
talking smack, because I said to him, as soon as we land in Cambodia, I'm going to Vietnam because that's where Marie is. And he was like, you need a visa for that. And I was like, I will figure it out. I don't care. And we landed, went straight to the bus terminal, booked the bus, and the bus said, have you got your visas? And we said no. And they said, we know somebody. And this guy came, local guy, he came up and he said, I will get you the visa. I have to go to the embassy. I need your passports and I need $200. And Trent was like, no way we are doing this.
Poor Trent.
And I was just lovesick. There was no way I was not going to be getting on that bus. So I said to Trent, if anything goes wrong, I'll cover the whole thing. If we don't get our passports back, I will figure it out. And he just goes, okay. And so we gave both of our passports $200, and the guy goes, we had 2 hours for the bus to leave. With 5 minutes to go, this guy comes back with our passports, with the visas in them. We get on the bus, and then it's a 7-hour drive to Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh.
We were on the plane.
You were on the plane, and then we both met at the hotel that you were staying at, and that's when I said, I'm here. Let's do 2 weeks in Vietnam. And that 2 weeks was incredible. We connected on every level and had so much fun.
At that time, I hadn't even told anyone from home because I was like, I cannot tell anyone. Obviously, Sophia, who I was traveling with, she knew and she saw the connection, and she was probably also like, oh my God, this is crazy. But then I think 3 or 4 days into our Vietnam trip, remember you got your tattoo with the peace sign?
Yeah.
We were in this tattoo studio, and I was like sitting next to you, holding your hand, and I was on my phone at the same time. And one of my best friends, Katie from Germany, texted me, and she's like, so how's the trip? Met any guys? Like, have you met any guys yet? I was like, what am I going to say now? So I was like, yeah, I think I met the love of my life. And then I just saw her typing, stop typing, stop typing. I was like, oh my God, what is she going to say? And she's like, what? Just capital letters. What? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Are you serious? Question mark, question mark, question mark. And then she just called me, and I went out on the terrace. I don't know if you remember. And I was like telling her the story, and she's like, Marie, you're crazy. You just quit your job. Like, you've got your pink sunglasses up, but like, do you really think he's the one? Like, do you really, like, I was already thinking about changing my plans to go to Spain and everything after like 7-8 days.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, actually, I have some time off. No, at that time she didn't. She met you later on in Bali, because at that time it wasn't even planned. But yeah, so like the first people from home started hearing it, and it was crazy.
And that Vietnam 2 weeks was amazing. There was a point where I almost ruined everything because we went on a boat tour trip to Ha Long Bay. It was like
so we partied a lot.
We partied a lot, and that was kind of a great way for us to get confident and to get to know each other really quickly. But it was also a little bit of my old ways that I was comfortable with and what I used to do.
Yeah.
And so when we went on this Ha Long Bay trip, we met some Scottish guys, and they were super funny, and like we were doing drinking games and things like that.
It was like, I think, drinks all inclusive for 2 days straight.
Yeah,
or
and
something.
old me was like, life of the party, I'm going for it. And I went overboard that night. I drank way too much. And then I think you saw a side of me that you were like, I don't know if this is what I want.
Yeah, I was sitting, like, obviously I was also a bit tipsy, but I was sitting there with your mate and my friend, and I was like, this is a side of Jake I haven't seen, and I don't know if I like this white chick wasted guy.
White girl wasted.
White girl wasted, that's what I learned at this time, it's called. And I went to the ocean with my friend, and I had a little chat with her, and I was like, I really like this guy, but maybe I can't give up everything, like, maybe he's still a party guy and everything he says is not true. And I recently found my little diary from there in our apartment in Kuala Lumpur, and I read it, and I was actually writing those thoughts down. But then the next day we decided to leave the island because some people extended, some left. I said I would leave, you were left with me, and that was the first day in 3 weeks that we'd met, that we had a date by ourselves, without our friends, without any party. And I think that was really important for our future.
Also a big moment for me because I had a bunch of guys telling me, come on, don't go with her, stay, don't be, be fun, come on. And that peer pressure in the past, I would have collapsed to it. I would have said, yeah, okay, I'm with the boys, I'm gonna get back on it. But I could tell how much it meant to you, and I could also in that moment realize she means way more to me than just showing off to these people that I don't even know. So I'm going back with you. And then the last couple of days was just really deep, really intimate. We spoke a lot.
So going back means we went to like a little island in Vietnam, and then we went back to Ha Long Bay.
And so then, we had 2 days back in Hanoi, I think, or something. It was the town. And then I had to fly back to Australia. And this was already pre-planned. I had a job. I was playing football still. I was back from my injury, but I wasn't playing at a high level. And so I had a contract and I had a job. So I had to go home. So I flew home, and the plan was that we would meet each other in 8 weeks.
Because your football season would go like max 8 weeks. But I remember we had a couple talks before, and you said you were I don't know if you were trying to play cool or something, but like I think I mentioned once maybe I'm not going to Spain, and you didn't even say yes. I was like really unsure. We were not really trying to play games. I think I made that clear in the beginning. I said once, like, I'm not for playing games. Like you just heard my story before. I just didn't want anyone to hurt me. So I was like, yeah, just tell me if you want to have fun, that's fine. But if you want something serious, please just tell me. And then you left, and my time in Vietnam had also come to an end. Sophia and I flew to Bali, and she was the one who actually wanted to meet someone, and I was the one who didn't. So now she was like, Marie, please, like, go out with me, let me have some fun. And I was like, absolutely, of course. But I got sick the day you left, and she was like always making fun, like, no, you love sick because he left. And I was like, no, I'm still gonna go with you and have fun. And then you called 4 days later, I think.
Yeah, I was back home in Australia, back at my job, thinking about you in Bali, meeting other Aussie guys with long hair probably, and just getting really nervous just about, like, we've only known each other for 2 or 3 weeks. Was it a holiday romance? Is she gonna forget me? I don't want this feeling to go to waste. I feel like there's something so special. And this was a moment where a lot of people, I would say 99% of people would say it's too crazy.
Yeah.
It was a holiday romance. It was good while it lasted, but I can't make this work. I've got a job. I've got family. I've got all these things I need to worry about. Most people would have said at that time, if it works, it'll work. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But I was like, I'm going to force it to be. And so I went to my coach at my football team and my boss, and I said, I need to get some more time off because I want to go back to Bali to see this girl that I've fallen in love with. Essentially, I had fallen in love with her, and that's why I need to leave. And neither of them could really say anything because I think love is the biggest card you can play. No one's gonna.
Not in the football.
Well, they didn't. They thought it was crazy, but they respected it because I was like, guys, if this is the love of my life.
And you never said that before.
I never said it, so they knew it was serious, and so they said yes, you can go, and I was able to get another 12 days off. So I met you in Bali, which is where our relationship and our romance just really became something that was going to last. I think we were on this island now that we absolutely love, imagining what our future could be like, and just really being there for each other and getting to know each other on a deeper level. And I think you maybe let me in a little bit more as well because you could see that I really wanted this because I flew back again.
Yeah, 100%. The trust issues I've had because of everything that happened to me, and you showing me that kind of commitment that no one ever showed me before was definitely helping a lot to open up to you. At that time, you were coming over alone and I was with Sophia, so obviously I had to ask for permission, and I said, like, Sophia, like, just be honest, is this okay if he's coming? And she said yes, completely. We went to Uluwatu to the south of Bali and just had a really good time, still met new people, and it never felt awkward. I think we just had a lot of fun. And then you left again, and at that time it was even harder, and I was so unsure about my future. I just realized more and more I wanted to spend time with you.
And was that when you called up your master in Barcelona and you cancelled and you
So you left, and then a couple of days later we went to Lombok. And we were in Lombok, I think, for 4 or 5 days before you decided to come back for 3 days to see me in Lombok. And those 4 or 5 days where you were overseas in Australia and I was by myself, I was having deep conversations with my girlfriends because at this time, Katie came. She met you in Bali. She was the one who I called and I said I fell in love. And she actually came because she had some time off, but she also wanted to see what it's all about. And I remember the day she arrived, and it was like 11 p.m. She arrived at the hotel, and you spoke to her like 2 sentences. And then I ran into her room, and I was like, "Ant, what do you think? Is he good?" And she's like, "Great." I literally said hello and how's it going, and that's it. And I was like, "Oh, okay." But yeah, we had a lot of fun together, and then I had a bit of time with her and Sophia by myself to digest everything and really think, now that he's gone, is this still what I want, or am I in this love bubble, and can't really make a rational decision. And then I called you, and I remember because I was so nervous, I left my credit card outside in front of our apartment for a night when I booked the flights to go to America with you, because I cancelled Barcelona, and then we decided we would travel together. We both had saved money, and you had this opportunity to play football a month later in California. So I booked the flight that night, and then you arrived, I think, 2 days later to Lombok.
Yeah, I flew back one more time because I just couldn't get rid of this horrible feeling of being away from you. And that's how I knew it was love. And I've told everybody ever since, you know how they say, when you know, you know. I didn't believe that before, but now I genuinely do. You don't know exactly that this is love, this is the one, but you know that you have a feeling that you've never felt before.
And I think without this feeling, I mean, we're still in love, we wouldn't have gone through everything we went through. Like, this is probably for another day, for another session, but we have done so much, and I think a lot of people would have split up by now. Like, the amount of pressure we've had in the last 6 years.
Yeah, the love, the fire was absolutely there, and credit to both of us. We went for it, and I think that's why our story was so special to a lot of people, and why we grew so quickly on social media as well, because it was a true story of feeling love, falling in love, following your heart, and just letting everything else fall into line, and not think about how it's going to work out or the things that could go wrong. It was a true story of we're in love. I want to be with her. She wants to be with me. Nothing else matters. Let's see where this goes. All in.
And I mean, from the time we'd met to the time we decided this, and then you left Lombok again, and I left a couple of days later to go back to Germany, that was like 6 to 7 weeks, but we'd seen each other in that time maybe 4 to 5 weeks, and we decided to change our lives completely for each other. I went back to Germany, and that was the hardest part for me because I had 3 weeks, 21 days in Germany until we decided to meet in America again.
And this was the 3 weeks that I was scared of the most.
And it was scary because we were talking on the phone every day, but I was in my old life with my old people, some of them telling me I'm making a mistake because I don't have any future plans now. I'm wasting the money that I'd saved for my uni master degree to now travel with a random guy. What if it wouldn't work out? And I was still in a really, really good mental stage at that time that I could just say, you know what, even if it's not going to be forever, I have a really good story to tell, an amazing experience. I'm never going to regret it. I'll go for it. It's my decision. So that was, yeah, but it was a scary time. And at that time, you're like, oh, is this really like all happening, you know?
I had been back to my home 3 times at that point and realized it was what I wanted. What I was doing at home was not it. It was the first time you went back to Germany, and I knew as well that all of your friends and family would be talking to you saying, this is legitimately crazy. Look at this guy.
I mean,
what future is there?
The crazy part was I was so serious about moving to Spain, to Barcelona, that I had organized an apartment that I quit, spent $4,000 on the deposit for my master, which I lost, couldn't get back. My friends and family did a goodbye for me before I met you, before I went to the Asia trip, a goodbye party where I got books about Barcelona and everything. And my family had booked flights for Christmas. We're speaking about August 2016, and then Christmas 2016, they all wanted to visit me in Barcelona. So then when I was back, I was like, guys, I'm not going to Spain. I'm traveling with this guy. I'm leaving in 3 weeks. But we both will be in Barcelona on Christmas if everything works out, because obviously you booked your flights. And that's what we did. We traveled Central and a bit of South America and California, and I think Florida we did in the US. And then we went to meet my family 6 months later.
And so overall, our story is a story of following your heart at its purest form. We had no idea what we were going to do for work, or how we were going to even be together, or where we were going to live, or anything. We had no idea where it was going to go. I
was 26. I just turned 26 a few months before I met you, and you were 24, turning 25.
Yeah.
6 months later.
And so I think the biggest lessons that we got out of it, that we tell other people, number one, is if you really feel something means a lot to you and it would change your life and the feeling is right, if you go for it, your life can change for the better forever in so many amazing ways. If it doesn't work out, you can go back to what you were doing before.
Yeah.
People think that if they leave their job or their career or something like that, that they'll never get back to where they were. That is just not true. You can go back, probably talk to your boss, do whatever. You can easily slot back into where you were before. So the biggest loss is not taking the chance. Mm-hmm. That was number one. Number two is listen to your heart a lot. Ask it questions for sure, and don't just follow it blindly. But if something feels right, follow it. And number three, which I think is huge, which made everything possible for us, was we had some savings. It wasn't a lot. I think you had 20,000 euros saved from your job and you got a big tax return. I had like 10,000 or something. Having that money allowed us to say, okay, let's go on a 6-month trip together, which is when our love completely became real and we were a real couple. Then we started planning about how we would make our future work. But for the first few months, just having that mindset and having a bit of savings in the bank gave us the opportunity to do that, because if neither of us had money, well, it wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have worked.
100%.
Which is, it's hard to say. Like, yeah, save up some money. A lot of people, it's hard to do that. But
I made the commitment, and I mean, you did too. You said, you know what, I'm going to work really hard for a certain amount of time that I can travel, and this is what you got me into after we met as well. And I made a conscious decision when, I think when my dad got sick, so a few years before, that I would rather have a little apartment that's not so great and go out less and buy less clothes but save. Like, I made a transaction from my account as soon as I got paid from my company. 500-600 euros went into the savings account every time, so the money didn't even exist for me. Like, I couldn't spend it. And if you do that, you can work with less money. You just don't want to a lot of times. But I always had the goal to do something, to move to Spain, to do something. So
and you never know when you're going to need something in the bank to chase an opportunity that comes along, because opportunities can come along. So you always have to have something on the side there, because if something comes along and you can't take it because you don't have the tools, you don't have the resource or the capital, then that's just really sad. And then the fourth thing I just remembered then, that
I also got one.
You've got one as well. Number 4 was that if we didn't get out of our comfort zones to go on a trip to Asia and meet new people and do something different, get away from out of our bubble at home, we would have never met. We met on a beach in Thailand, and there was no way that an Australian boy would have met a German girl if I kept doing what I wouldn't
have met anyone who wanted to travel the world with me in Germany, probably, because everyone was like stuck in their own ways and stuff. So I had to like get out there and meet open-minded people overseas. And that actually leads into my point 5, which is, if you're surrounded by people that are positive and open-minded, you can let yourself grow into someone you want to truly become, because it's very hard to do it at home. This is something I worked on with my life coach for a long time, because I always had those thoughts about pleasing people, being the right friends to my friends, the correct daughter, the nice granddaughter, and so on. So I had all these expectations that I was giving myself, that I couldn't do what was good for me. And as soon as I left, like you said, point 4, and then was surrounded by people who were also like, life is beautiful, focus on what you truly want to do and not what society tells you to do, that's when I could go for it. And if I would have met you in a bar in Germany, good luck, no way. Like, I don't think I would have gone for it, you know.
Yeah, because you would have listened to what everyone else had to say, and it would have been it would have drowned out the true feelings that you really have. Because especially in our line of work and what we do now, everybody says, that'll never work, that's not going to happen, you can't do that, you can't do this. We never listen to anybody except ourselves, and that's a really good piece of advice for anyone out there. Listen to the people who care about you a lot, your friends and family, because they do genuinely care about you, but only you know what's best for you. Only you know what's going to make you happy. So that's the only voice you should truly be listening to. And I think that we both really did that. And then an incredible journey started with a lot of success, different businesses, growing on social media, going to hotels all around the world, lots of ups and downs for sure, but just this really amazing fairy tale. I still call it a fairy tale. I know there's like a fairy tale is supposed to be always happy. It hasn't always been happy, but it has just been such an incredible experience to meet someone that you love and then build a life together and do everything together and be a team and support each other. It's the best decision I ever made, was to just go all in with you.
And for me to let go. I think this is was my biggest fear, and still sometimes is. Let go of what you think is safe and just go for what feels good for yourself.
And it's okay if you get hurt.
Yeah.
I think it's really sad if people lose the fire in them because they went all in and then they got hurt. That's life. I was really lucky because you're my first girlfriend, the first time I really went for something. But you had a relationship for 6 years and you were in love, and that hurt to break up, but you weren't afraid to go in again.
It took me a while, and it took finding myself before I could find you. And we have a lot of girls always texting us, how did you find the person for yourself? I took care of myself, and I was not even looking for someone because I was happy for the first time probably in my life. I was just happy to go and explore, and then I just attracted you into my life. That's what I think.
Yeah, and I was finally healthy and in a good mindset, and at the point where I could take in all of the stories that you were telling me and these feelings that we were having together and actually turn that into something genuine and real.
I think it's a whole nother story to then tell how it continued, how you took me to Australia and how we started our Instagram journey.
That's for another episode, I think.
I think so too. I think that was a good starting.
A good summary of how we met and some tips on how it actually came about for us. For any of you beautiful people out there listening, if there's something that you really want to do or somebody that you love, do it, tell them, dive in, learn, grow, and don't look back, because you can always go back to what you were doing. Life will work in so many different ways, but you'll never know if something worked out if you didn't just go for it. And that's our message today. We love you all. We hope you enjoyed our story, and I think we have many more episodes, many more chats.
Maybe let us know what you want to listen to next, but I think it would be interesting to hear how our online story started, Instagram, everything.
I think that would be the next episode, where we talk about we met in LA and then started to create, and the Instagram started.
Because we had nothing to do with it, so that was like a new chapter.
It's very interesting, and it still blows me away how it all kind of turned out. But that's for next time. Thanks for listening, guys. If you haven't already, just subscribe to our YouTube, because we're planning on doing this more often. It's a lot of fun. I really like this kind of format.
And I hope you can learn something.
Hope you can learn something from us, or get inspired, or at least just get a happy feeling inside. Lots of love. See you next time.
Bye bye.